You know, if you want to fly a drone for pretty much any reason besides just for fun, this is the certificate you've got to get.
So, you think you're ready for the big test? It can definitely feel like a lot to take in, but our goal here isn't just to have you memorize a bunch of facts. It's to really get the why behind all these rules. We're going to run through a quick-fire mock quiz that hits the absolute core concepts. You ready? Let's dive right in.
We're going to hit 4 key areas. First up, the ground rules, the basic regulations. Then we'll get into airspace, which is all about where you can fly. After that, we'll cover safe operations, and we'll wrap it all up with the big one, what it means to be the pilot in command. Let's do this.
Okay, first section, regulations. These are the hard numbers, the non-negotiables. Think of these as the foundation for everything else. You will for sure see questions just like these on the real test.
Let's kick things off with a simple one. The FAA has a pretty clear-cut rule on how old you have to be to get certified. What do you think it is?
And the answer is 16. Yep, 16 years old. It's a straightforward rule, just to make sure pilots have a certain level of maturity before they're in command.
Okay, next up is a big one, weight. This number is really important because it's what defines a small unmanned aircraft system under Part 107. So what's that upper limit?
The magic number is less than 55 pounds. And here's the detail you can't forget. That includes everything. We're talking the drone, the batteries, the camera, any cargo, the whole shebang. Your total takeoff weight has to be under 55 pounds, period.
Now let's talk about how high you can fly. There's a standard ceiling for drone flights, and it's there to keep you well away from most airplanes. So what's that altitude in feet? Above ground level, or AGL.
You got it, it's 400 feet above ground level. But, and this is a big but, there's a major exception you will get tested on. If you're inspecting, say, a 1,000-foot tall tower, you can actually fly 400 feet above the top of that tower. So remember the rule, but don't forget that key exception for structures.
All right, let's move on to our next section, airspace. Now, for a lot of people, this is the trickiest part of the test. It's all about reading these complex charts and understanding invisible lines in the sky. But don't worry, we're going to break it down with some really clear visuals.
So, here's a fantastic way to picture the different types of airspace. It's kind of like an upside-down wedding cake, right? The busiest airports, they're right in the middle of those most restrictive layers, like Class B. We're going to focus on the ones that matter most to us as drone pilots.
Okay, test time. You're looking at your sectional chart and you see this symbol, a solid magenta line, and it has a little fraction that says 50 over SFC. What is that telling you about the sky above you?
That symbol means you are looking at Class C airspace. SFC just stands for surface, so this airspace starts right at the ground. It goes all the way up to 4,000 feet above ground level. The main takeaway here, you absolutely 100% need authorization from air traffic control to fly in there. No exceptions. Let's look at another one you'll see all the time. This thick, fuzzy magenta line. It's not a hard boundary like the last one. Instead, it's telling you there's a change in the floor of the airspace. Any idea what it means?
This faded line means that on the shaded side of it, controlled Class C airspace starts at 700 feet AGL. Normally, it would start way up at 1,200 feet. You usually see this around smaller airports, just to give manned aircraft a little extra buffer. Spotting this on your chart is a really big deal.
Okay, so we've covered the basic rules and where you can fly. Now let's talk about how you've got to fly, safely and by the book. This section is all about safe operations. This is a super fundamental weather question. As a remote pilot, you're flying under visual flight rules, which, just like it sounds, means you need to be able to see. So what is the absolute minimum forward visibility you need to have? The answer is 3 statute miles. And it doesn't stop there. You also have to follow a really important rule about staying away from clouds. As you can see right here, you have to keep that drone at least 500 feet below any clouds and 2,000 feet away from them horizontally. So just burn it into your brain, 3 miles visibility, and stay clear of the clouds.
Things can go wrong. And if an accident does happen, there's a very specific clock that starts ticking. If there's a serious injury or property damage over $500, how long do you have to file that official report with the FAA?
You've got 10 days, not a week, not 2 weeks, 10 calendar days. The FAA is super strict on this one. It's a key safety rule that helps them figure out what went wrong so they can prevent it from happening again.
And that brings us to our final, and maybe our most important section, See, being the remote pilot in command isn't just about knowing how to work the controls. It is all about responsibility, good judgment, and being the one who makes the final call on every single flight.
And one of the best tools you have for managing all that responsibility is something called the PAVE checklist. Before every flight, you run through it. P is for pilot. Are you okay to fly? Are you tired, stressed? A is for aircraft. Is the drone in good shape? V is for environment. What's the weather doing? What's the airspace? And E is for external pressures. Are you feeling rushed by a client or a deadline to do something you shouldn't?
So let's just boil it all down for a second. What are the absolute must-knows? First, know your numbers, age, weight, and altitude. Second, you have to get comfortable reading those airspace charts. Third, always fly with at least 3 miles of visibility and keep your distance from clouds. And finally, make a pre-flight risk assessment, like the PAVE checklist, a non-negotiable habit for every single flight.
You know, passing the Part 107 test is so much more than just getting a certificate. It's your ticket to explore, to create, and to maybe even build a business from a totally new perspective. You've got the foundational knowledge now, so the only real question left is, once that certificate is in your hand, where are you going to fly first?